All right, guys, today we're going to talk about land, and I'm just going to talk to you like I would a client if we were out looking at properties. So I've been doing this 3 decades. I bought and sold and personally owned property around the country, and there's just so much to know about vacant land. So if you, my first bit of advice is going to be find an agent that knows how to deal with land. They know about land, they know what to expect, because there are so many moving parts with land and it can be really expensive and really stressful. It also can be amazing. So I don't want to scare you off. I just want people to know, like, we hear this all the time. They're like, oh, I want my piece of paradise and I want to be on top of a mountain, have these amazing views. So these are some things to watch out for. So, sorry, bug. One of the first things I always tell people is when you're out driving around, be aware of signage from the county. Signage from the county is going to look like a little, usually like a little piece of paper and a piece of plastic to protect it from the weather. And it's signage, they stick around. And basically what it means is either someone's trying to get a variance, which is a change in zoning usually, or a change of use for that property. Development is happening. Just keep aware, when you're out, look for those things. Also look at your neighbors. So you just kind of want to get a feel for what's going on in the neighborhood or the area, because most property is going to be a little more rural. And you just kind of want to know what's potentially coming that could affect the value of your property and your quality of life. So I always check out neighbors, and again, guys, I'm going to make sure I say this. Don't just go walking on people's property like that. I mean, it's not smart to just because it has a for sale sign on it does not mean it's okay to just start driving up it. If you're my client, call me. I will call the listing agent and I will get you permission to get on their land, because you do not want to get shot at. It is likely not going to be a very good experience, and just safety all the way around is smart. But you can't imagine how many times we have people that the land's vacant and they'll just go walk on it. Call me first. But do drive around and check stuff out. Go out in different times of the day and all that, so you can kind of see what your commute's going to be like, what feel for the neighbors when they're home, because maybe you're driving around during the day when people aren't home. So, because when you're out rurally, people tend to do more of what they want to do. Versus when you're in an HOA and there's a lot of rules. So that is number one. Just go out and kind of drive around and get a feel for what's happening. And again, none of these tips replace an inspector or a licensed contractor. This is just from my experience over the years, and I am passing it on to you. So secondly, your access. Let's talk about access. What does that really mean? Access is not just physical access, how to get on the property. It is also your legal access. So when you do have permission to get on a piece of property and you're out there looking, this is before you get it under contract. And again, if I haven't said this, I don't remember if I said this or not yet, but you want a seasoned agent that knows land. If you already have an agent you like, but they don't know land, have them partner up with somebody that does. I think I already said that, but if not, that's so important, because I hate to see somebody get taken advantage of or get into a situation where they're spending a lot of money and it just doesn't turn out the way you're hoping for. So that being said, when you're out there, got permission, you're walking the land, you're looking, the access is where basically going to be your entrance onto the property, obviously. But that, so many people think, oh, I want to be on the top of the mountain where the views are, or I want to be back in this spot. Keep in mind that the last bid I got, which was not long ago, was $1,800 per 100 feet for a driveway. So what that means is, as you go in per 100 feet, it's going to be $1,800. These are rough numbers just to give you an idea of what to expect, because a lot of people don't realize that. So when you're looking at that type of access, just keep that in mind, not just where the prettiest part is to put the house, but where is this driveway going to go and the cost of it, because this could help anybody around the country. Really, these are pretty basic tips. But I am focused on Tennessee because I'm based out of Middle Tennessee in the Nashville area. So we have a lot of rock here. Rock is expensive to get through. So when guys are putting driveways in, you've got an excavator that's coming out, and he's going to want to take that top soft layer off, usually is what they want. You want a strong base, and that's then the next step. They come after they get that off, and that hopefully that's an easy job, because who knows how far this driveway is going to have to go. But if it's got rock, that is expensive. That is, not only is it time consuming to get through, it's hard on the equipment. So a lot of these excavators are going to charge you through the nose to dig through rock. So be aware of that when you're out walking property. Look for rock outcroppings. As beautiful as they are, I get it. They can be, that means there's a lot of rock on the property usually. So just be aware. So once you get that soft top layer off, then you've got your base. And your base, if you've ever been on like a logging road or anything, you see that it's a big chunk of rock. That's the base. So you put the base down, and then, and I'm just generalizing here, guys, for the ease of the video, but you put your base down, and then you have layers on top of that, your crushed gravel. Unless you're doing paved, if money's no object, congratulations. But for the rest of everybody out there, most people on land are going to do gravel driveway. So, and I know if you're thinking, I'm just going to put some gravel down, it's going to be fine. When you put that gravel down and you start driving over it, it smushes into the mud. And then all of that material you just bought, all that crushed gravel, done. It's gone. It's in the mud now. So that's why they put that base down. It's why they excavate down, to get rid of the soft stuff. So you've got a good solid base of the driveway, because it's not just you and your SUV going up it, or your ATV, or whoever, your friends. You've got to get the trucks back there. If you're going to build, you've got to get, I mean, you're getting tractor trailers in there, bringing your trusses in. You get concrete trucks coming in often. Those guys are heavy, and they will tear your driveway up. Now, I will say this, if you can get them back there before you put your nice driveway in, that's ideal. If they can get in without sinking, that is ideal, because otherwise you're putting all this money into that driveway, and those big trucks, they can still tear up a nice new driveway. Like, even if you put the good base down and all that, it can still tear a driveway up, having those big trucks in and out as you're trying to build. So, and you're not just building, you're doing a well, you're doing septic, you're doing all kinds of stuff, sometimes building a shop. So you've got a lot of equipment coming in and out that's very heavy. So keep that in mind. So your access is a big deal. The other part of access is you want to look around, like when you're out walking the property, look around for what looks like paths, like dirt roads, that someone may have been traveling, like a neighbor, somebody's got access, because you will run a title search once you get under contract, but you can't always know that somebody's using the property. So that's another thing, just be watching for. Look for anything like a deer stand, if someone's been hunting the property. We do see this. I saw this more so in Idaho, Montana, where you've had somebody that the land's been vacant for, ever, and somebody else has been using it. They've been hunting it, or they've been accessing their maybe landlocked property using yours. So even though it may not have a legal access, a legal easement recorded, it doesn't mean you couldn't not have problems with this neighbor. So those are just things to keep in mind, and doesn't mean it won't work. It just gives you a heads up to ask about it. What's the trail here? How often is this used? How often is this neighbor accessing the property? Because when you get out in more rural areas, again, people tend to do what they want to do. And if no one's around watching it, they could be using the property without the seller even knowing. So that is one thing to keep in mind that's very important. Doesn't always happen, but I've seen it happen a lot. So the other thing is landlocked property. If you've got landlocked property, you want to make sure you've got a recorded easement, because there is a fair amount of landlocked property. And what that means you've got surrounding parcels surrounding the parcel you're interested in, and you have no legal access to get to the road. You might be the guy using that path through the grass, or, over on the edge of the property, you're the one using that to get to this landlocked parcel. Make sure, and title will show this when you do your title search, but make sure that you've got legal access there, recorded, that it's not just for that person, it's recorded against the property, it runs with the land, is what that term is. Now, every county is going to be different, every area is going to be different, but you want to get as much information as you can from the county. So I would say that was a step. I would put that step in there too. Go down to the county. Don't rely on your agent, because this is your due diligence. I wouldn't rely on anybody. You want a good agent that knows how to deal with land and knows how to put all these things in front of you. But if it's me, I'm going down to the county. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, what I can do there and what I can't, because once you close, it's yours. So if you can't do what you want to do, find all that out ahead of time. Go down, make an appointment with whatever your county is. And it could be city jurisdiction, but almost always rural properties are county. So you'll just call down, make an appointment with a planner or somebody that will help you kind of navigate what you're trying to do there and let you know if you can do this there. So, okay, so that was access. Let's talk about utilities, because utilities are huge. So, and also with access, like you may need to put a culvert in. So if you've got water is so cool, but it also could take a culvert, a bridge, whatever to get across it. Keep in mind, if land's cheap, guys, there's usually a reason. Like down in Florida, all kinds of cheap land looks really cheap, and it's because it has wetlands on it, and the wetlands can cost you tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands to disturb them, to be able to even put a driveway in. So it's all different everywhere you are, but keep in mind, if the land seems really cheap, there's usually a reason for it. And that's this part that you're doing. You're kind of doing your due diligence. Now, if you want to get it under contract, if the market's kind of hot, get it under contract and then do this due diligence. That being said, make sure your due diligence is inspection. So with houses, we call it inspection. With land and land development, commercial properties, we call it due diligence. It's the same thing. It's just your inspection period. So when you do land, I would never do less than 30 days of that time frame. Like on a house, it can be usually 5 to 15 days, depending on the market, that you have that period to do all your inspections. With land, you want to make sure it's a lot longer and you can get through all of these entities, get their feedback from the county, get contractors out there. Like, it takes time to get these guys out there to help you with all of this. So keep that in mind. But so these are things you could be doing while you're under contract, or you could just be doing, upfront while you're out looking at property. These are just things to be watching for ahead of time, because once you get under contract, now you're spending money. You're spending money on inspectors. You're spending money on the title search. You're spending money on the, some of those guys want to get paid to come out there and give you bids. They're not necessarily just going to come out for free. So keep that in mind once you're under contract. So that's why you want to be aware of all this up front. So, okay, I feel like I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I'm trying to cover everything. So next is your utilities. So if you've got water and sewer at the road that you can hook into, great. But a lot of rural properties are not. You're going to be a septic and a well situation. So and you also want to make sure that if there is city sewer or county sewer and water available, that you're not required to hook up to it. Because what you don't want to do, and some people don't want to hook up to city services. Some people like having their own well and their septic, and they don't want to have to. Sometimes you're required to if it's put in. So that's another something you want to look into. All of these things are things you can call on and do before you even get under contract. Again, it'll depend on the market, because you don't want to lose the property while you're doing all this due diligence before you even get it tied up, and then somebody else comes in and ties it up and you're out. So I recommend getting them under contract if you like them, as soon as possible. But basically, you can get quite a bit of this sort of felt out while you're out walking around. So anyways, the utility, so check into that to make sure you're not required to hook in. The last time I ran it, it was like $10,000 hookup fee. So it's not really any cheaper than doing a well and your own septic. I mean, all of that's going to be expensive too. So It's going to be cost either way, but you just want to make sure that you haven't gone to the trouble to have your septic and well put in and you didn't know that it was in the street and required. So now you have to hook up and you have paid for a well and septic. So all this, just stuff to keep in mind. So, okay. So septic is a big deal, especially here in Tennessee. We have a lot of rock, we have a lot of clay, and a lot of water. And what the septic is, your septic is basically your sewer system, if you're not familiar with what that is. And so you're going to need to have soil testing done. A soil scientist comes out, they do testing of the soil, and what that does is it tells basically how good the drainage is. Oftentimes, and you'll do that in your due diligence period under contract. You want to do that before you close. You want to be sure that's in your contract. Obviously, your agent's going to tell you all this, hopefully. But you want to make sure you get that done, because what that soil study is going to do is tell you, like, is this drainable? Is potentially how many bedrooms you can get. So the septic is based off of bedrooms, not bathrooms. A lot of people think it's bathrooms. It's how many people live in the house. So that's why they go off of bedrooms. They want to see how much usage that system's going to get. So what they're doing with the ground is they're seeing how fast it's going to drain. So if you've got a lot of rock or if you've got a lot of water, it's not going to drain very well, or clay. So, and they're going around the land and they're kind of picking out the best spot. Now you can kind of get a feel for where, where kind of a good spot would be, but really I would have the soil scientist out there. Absolutely. Like, that's not, to me, that's a non-negotiable. Like, I would never buy property, because if you can't get a septic permit, because that's what the county is going to do. They're going to look at your soil samples. They're going to look at, you're going to fill out a permit and everything. And then they're going to decide if they approve you for a septic. If you can't get approved for a septic, you likely can't build out there. And you just bought this property and you didn't get a septic test or a soil test to know if you can do a septic. Now, you'll see properties around listed that'll say, it's recreational property or something like that. That usually means that they've had a soil scientist out there and it cannot be approved for a septic system. So it means it's not buildable. So anyways, that's what they're doing. They also do what's called a perk test. A perk test is, you'll see that in listings. Agents, please don't say P-E-R-K, it's P-E-R-C. Sometimes I see it P-E-R-K. It's not a perk, like oh, yay, a perk. It is a percolation test. So it's P-E-R-C, and that's what that means. When you see that listed, a perk test means that they basically dug a hole in the ground. They want to see how fast the water drains out. Again, every county is going to be different. Every state's going to be very different in what you need. But that those are some of the tests that they run to see if you can get septic. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at property. You don't necessarily get to put the house wherever you want it. You put it where you can get septic. And wherever, because then you're going to have drain fields too. And the drain fields and the septic system have to be so close to the house and so close to each other. And there's a lot that goes into that. So that's a septic. I think we've covered everything on that. Water is going to be kind of the same thing. Like, if you have to hook up, make sure you don't have to hook up. But most likely, if you're rural enough, you're going to need a well. And again, you don't always get water. So there are plenty of properties that just, don't have water, or it's so far to dig. I mean, the Tennessee area runs about 150 to 400 feet depth, I believe. And most are going to run like that $20 to $35 per foot drilling. So you're going to pay for the drilling costs, and then you're going to pay for the pump and the tank and all that. And so I'd say most wells run in the 10 to 15,000 here in Tennessee. And every area is different. The most I've seen is the top of a mountain in Idaho, and that was about 30,000. And I think that was a 700-foot well. That's a long ways to go for water. So with your well that you have, they can come out and check for water. Your driller, and you want to get somebody that's recommended, the driller will come out, sometimes you have to pay them a fee to come out, and they'll basically give you an idea of, yeah, this is a good risk. Water's tough because you can't know there's water until you start drilling. So that's always a little bit of a risk. Sometimes you can put in like a temporary, like a water sample, but not all sellers let you do that, where you can kind of do a temporary dig type deal. And again, I'm just generalizing for ease, but a lot of sellers don't want you to do that. So you want somebody really well versed in wells to come out and kind of give you an idea of where they think is a good chance that you're going to hit water. Another good place to tell is the county. The county will have well records of your surrounding neighbors, or go talk to your surrounding neighbors and find out what depths they're getting. And that'll give you kind of an idea on cost, but really you want to know you're going to hit water. And then gallons per minute. How many gallons per minute are they getting? So what that means is that's the flow that's coming in. I've been in areas where gallons per minute is like 5, which is not much. Others, it's 100 gallons per minute. You're getting great water flow. So for those of us that have had animals, big animals, farm animals and stuff, you need a lot of water. You don't want to run out. That reminds me of the movie, what's it called? Baby Boom, with Diane Keaton, where she's bought this old house in the middle of nowhere, and the plumber's out there and he's like, "Ma'am, your wells run dry." And she was like, "Oh, thank God, because there's a hose around the corner." He's like, "Ma'am, you don't get it. You are out of water." If you've seen that movie, it cracks me up every time. But you don't want to run out of water. You can ship water in. It's a pain in the butt, but they do it for areas that they just really want that land and they can't get a well dug. You can truck water in a tank and have it on your property, and it works, but it's not ideal. So having a well would be ideal. So yeah, those are some of the things you can do, is have the driller come out and check and give his 2 cents. That's a big one. Check the well records and talk to your neighbors. So, and then building, so we'll jump on to the next one. It's like when you're building, you can't always build what you want. And again, that's a reason to go down and talk to the county yourself. Find this out. They'll want all the information on the land. They'll be able to look it up. They'll tell you what it's zoned and everything, because we get a lot of people that want the family compound and multiple homes, and that's an amazing idea, but you can't always build multiple homes on one property. So these are all things to look into when you're looking at what you want to build. And also get your builder out there. Like once you get under contract, within your due diligence period, that's a smart time to get your builder out there, because I've built on land before, and my builder at the time was like, "No rock outcroppings." Like, he knew where my budget was, and he was like, "It cannot have rock outcroppings because it costs them so much to dig through it," that he's like, "It's going to blow your budget." So keep in mind, you can't always build what you want, and you might have to make some concessions, but the whole big plan here is to get your land and have your amazing space and your piece of paradise and all that. So get your builder out there, get your mind wrapped around what he thinks really is feasible. He'll be able to look at the driveway and all that, give you all that kind of, he or she, I should say that, but he or she, most time it's a man, but anyways, he'll come out and give you a good idea of what he can do and where you should build and all this. So a lot of that is going to depend, he'll help you pick out a good spot, like kind of the better spots on the property. And then that's where you're hoping it'll give you a good idea, of where you're going to be. That's where you're hoping you're going to get to put your septic and your well. And everything has setbacks from each other too. So they'll tell you all this at the county. There's so much to know, and it's awesome to have your own land, but there is a lot to know about it, and to do it the right way and not get burned and not end up a ton of money in, and then it's not at all what you wanted, or it was a terrible experience. So it is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart, but you can do it. I have trust in you and faith in you, but you can do it. Like, just have to be very careful with all of your steps. All right, that about covers it, guys. We have touched on lots of important stuff. I know it's a lot. I hope it didn't overwhelm anybody. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to comment below or give me a call or email. It's going to be linked below or in this video or something. Again, I'm Jamie Dallas. I am an affiliate broker with Benchmark Realty here in Middle Tennessee, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.